Maya Carter woke before her alarm because her brother was already humming in the next room. Malik always did that on big days. It was game week for Riverside High, and even though the twins were not on the football team, the whole school felt louder, brighter, and a little less careful. Their small kitchen smelled like cinnamon toast. Their mother moved between the stove and the table with quiet speed. She asked if they had their books, their lunch, and their promise. The promise was the same every morning: use your training to help, not to hurt. The twins said it together, smiling, and tapped the doorframe for luck as they left. On the bus, Maya read a chapter for biology and drifted between the words and the window. The city moved by in blocks of early light, shops half open, dogs stretching on sidewalks, a boy on a scooter trying to beat the traffic light. Malik watched a tutorial on his phone with the sound off and practiced small finger drills for grip and calm. He was not nervous, but he liked to be ready. When the bus turned onto the hill toward school, a line of banners came into view. Riverside vs. Westfield, Friday night. Everyone was already talking about it. The players wore their jackets like armor and walked in a group. The cheer squad had new bows. Someone had chalked "Protect Our House" near the front steps. The first bell rang, and the building became a river of shoes and backpacks. Maya and Malik moved in step, one step apart, like always. People often told them twins had a secret language. They did not think of it like that. It was more like a rhythm they kept without counting. In the hallway near the trophy case, they slowed to look at an old team photo. Coach Daniels, much younger, stood with a silver cup. Maya pointed at him and said he had the same serious eyebrows back then. Malik laughed. He liked the coach because he was strict in a way that felt safe. He had rules and he kept them for everyone. Before second period, a whisper started at the lockers and grew legs. Someone said the team had a new tradition this season. It was just a joke, they said. A light test. If you bumped into someone and they did not show respect, you made them earn it. Most kids shrugged and rolled their eyes. They had heard this kind of talk before. But whispers have a way of making even a strong building feel like it tilts a little. When Maya reached her locker, a paper note slid out. It was a flyer for the game with a smiley face drawn on the back. Under the face were the words, "Don't forget who runs the school." She showed it to Malik. He raised his brows and put the note in his pocket. It could be a prank. It could be nothing. They did not change their rhythm. At lunch, the twins sat at a table near the windows with a view of the practice field. Players were running drills. The lines looked clean from far away, like a dance. Up close, in the cafeteria, the talk had a harder edge. Trent Walker, the star linebacker, sat 2 tables over with his friends. His laugh cut through the chatter. He had missed most of last Friday's game because of a coach's decision, and the loss still hung on him like a heavy jacket he could not take off. People said he was a leader. He was also 18 and did not like feeling small. Jada Miller set her tray down with a clink and asked if she could sit with the twins. She was in Maya's art class and Malik's math group. She liked to draw in the margins of her notes and had a way of seeing the mood in a room before anyone else named it. She told them she had heard about the initiations, and her eyes slid toward the football table. Maya shrugged. She said school had a rule against hazing, and rules existed for a reason. Malik added that most of the team were good guys who just wanted to play. He had tutored 2 of them last week. They were kind and said thank you. Jada relaxed, but she kept glancing toward the field. After lunch, the hallway outside English class felt tighter. Students were laughing at a video one moment and quiet the next. The twins walked side by side. Near the water fountain, someone stepped into their space. It was a small step, nothing more than a shoulder turning where a shoulder had no room to turn. Malik felt a tug and a hard bump against his left side. He steadied and looked up. Trent's eyes were level with his, steady too, as if neither of them had moved at all. The hallway air forgot to flow for a second. Maya said, "Excuse us, please," with the same tone she used when she guided younger kids through crowded practice rooms. It was warm and firm and simple. Trent smiled without showing his teeth and stepped aside as if he had planned to do that all along. The river of students began to move again. In English, Miss Ortega talked about leadership in stories. She asked why the best leaders were often the quiet ones. Maya thought of her mother and wrote a line about making space for other people's voices. Malik thought of Coach Daniels and wrote about rules that feel like safety. When the bell rang, they felt steadier. They were not eager to look for trouble. They were eager to study, to finish the week, and to help where they could. After school, the library felt like a deep breath. Sunlight made soft rectangles on the carpet. Maya spread her notes and color-coded tabs on a table, and Malik plugged in his laptop and opened a math practice exam. A few athletes drifted in for the tutoring hour the twins ran twice a week. One of them, Jamal, had a geometry test and a nervous laugh. Maya broke problems into small steps and gave him a sheet of key formulas. Malik showed him a trick for checking answers that did not require a calculator. Jamal said thanks and said he hoped Friday would go well. As the hour ended, a shadow crossed the table. Trent stood there with two friends just behind his shoulders. He held a practice schedule like he needed help reading it. His voice was light when he said he had lost track of some plays and needed a quick review. Maya nodded and pulled up the team's public page with the same calm she used for anyone. She explained the layout of the schedule and highlighted the times. Malik asked if he wanted a printout. Trent's eyes moved from the screen to their faces to the door and back again. "I think I got it," he said, and turned the paper in his hands as if it were a coin. He did not leave. He looked at Jamal, then at the twins, and said, almost like a joke, "People should know their place." His friends blew a breath that could have been a laugh. Maya said, gently, "Everyone's place is to be safe here." The words were plain and soft but felt like they could stand by themselves in a room without falling over. The librarian appeared at the end of the aisle then, pushing a cart. She waved at the twins and asked if they would help set out extra review sheets for midterms next week. Trent smiled again, easy this time. "See you around," he said, and walked out with his friends. The cart squeaked. The library breathed again. Evening practice whistles echoed across campus as students packed up. The light outside had shifted to that soft hour when the field looks like a bright stage and the rest of the world goes quiet. The twins walked toward the bus stop with their bags and the leftover review sheets they would tape up tomorrow. They were not in a hurry. They liked this time of day. A kid on a bike waved at them and almost tipped over but did not. They laughed and waved back. The street lamps clicked on, 1, 2, 3, like someone gently testing a keyboard. Their phones buzzed at the same time. Buzz buzz for Maya. Buzz buzz for Malik. At first, they thought it was their mother asking if they wanted her to pick them up. When they looked down, the screen showed an unknown number. The message was short and clear. It said, "Meet us behind the bleachers. 10 minutes. Don't be late." Maya and Malik slowed without speaking. They both knew that behind the bleachers was a patch of worn grass with a fence and a narrow light that flickered. It was not a place for a study session. It was not a place for a friendly talk. They looked up together and took in the darkening field, the faraway line of trees, the open path to the bus stop. The sound of the whistle traveled again on the air, then stopped. Maya breathed in and out. Her training had a rule for moments like this: slow down the inside, even if the outside wants to speed up. She said, "We should go home." Malik nodded. "We should also be smart." He gestured at the campus safety box on the wall near the path. If you pressed the button, a bright blue light would flash and a voice would answer. He pointed to the coach's office windows, where a lamp still burned. They had told their mother they would use their training to help, not to hurt. They had told Coach Daniels and the librarian that people should be safe here. Another buzz came through. Same number. This time the message had a little face with sunglasses. It said, "Show respect." Malik looked at Maya, and she looked back at him with the same steady eyes she used before a new kata in the dojo. The twins did not need to speak to lay out a simple plan. Stay together. Keep to the light. Keep phones ready. Tell an adult. They were not going to meet anyone in the dark. They were not going to pretend this was normal. They were going to choose safety on purpose. Maya typed a reply that was only 4 words, "Not meeting. Not safe." She hit send. Malik took a screenshot of the messages and saved the number. He opened a new message to Coach Daniels and attached the image. He added one line, "We got these just now." They started walking toward the coach's office at an even pace. The air felt cooler now, and the night had that crisp smell it gets in early autumn when the sky is clear. Their steps matched. A group of students passed them talking about a science project, unaware of the messages that had arrived. A few parents waited in cars by the curb with headlights on. Far off, a dog barked once and then was quiet. The blue safety light reflected in a window like a star. As they rounded the corner by the equipment shed, the stadium lights hummed and then without warning clicked off. The field went from stage bright to dim gray. Somewhere beyond the bleachers, a pair of silhouettes moved. The twins did not stop. They did not speed up. They kept walking toward the lit doorway where they could see the edges of notice boards and a row of shoes left to dry. Malik's phone buzzed again. He did not look down. He pushed the thought forward, "We are doing the right thing. We are choosing the light." Behind them, a low voice said something they could not quite hear. Another voice laughed in that way that wants to be heard. Maya's hand found the strap of her bag and settled there. Her breathing was steady. Her eyes were on the door. She thought of the promise made at the table this morning. She thought of the younger kids at the dojo who copied her stances, who copied her calm. She thought of the library and the quiet rectangles of Sunday. The twins stepped into the warm light of the coach's office. The hallway outside was dim now, but in here the desk lamp made a friendly circle on the papers. A bulletin board held practice charts and a printed copy of the school's conduct policy. Coach Daniels looked up from his laptop. His eyebrows lifted, and the lines at the corners of his eyes grew soft, the way they did when he was listening closely. Maya held up her phone at once. Malik did the same. They did not waste a second. Coach read the messages without interrupting. He did not rush to speak. He took a breath, set the phones on the desk gently, and met their eyes. "You did the right thing by coming here," he said. His voice was firm, steady, and kind. "I'm proud of you for choosing safety. No meeting in dark places. No games like that." He wrote down the unknown number, the time, and the wording on a sticky note. He asked if they had taken a screenshot. Malik nodded and sent one to the coach's email while they stood there. "Here is our plan," Coach said. He slid a small map across the desk. It showed the lit paths that ran from the building to the front gate, the parking area, and the bus stop. "I'm going to make a quick patrol toward the stadium and the bleachers. You two will go home by the main path. Stay in the light. Keep your phones out. If you sense anything strange, go back inside. There are people around, and staff are still on duty." He paused and added, "I also have a staff meeting in 5 minutes that I must step into. If I am there, I'll step out when I can. But this," he tapped the sticky note, "this is now official. You did the right thing." Maya and Malik felt the weight leave their chests a little. Plans do that. Plans turn fuzzy worry into clear steps. Coach walked with them to the front of the building. He showed them the location of a second safety box on the wall and pointed to a camera near the roofline. "These cameras work," he said. If anyone tries something, it will not be a mystery. People will be held responsible. He put a hand on the doorframe, as if blessing their way. Go on now. Straight path. No detours. They thanked him and stepped into the evening air. The sky had turned a deep blue. The first stars were faint, like shy eyes. The main path was bright, bordered by low lights that looked like little moons on short poles. The twins kept side by side. Their backpacks rested evenly on their shoulders. They walked at a calm pace, not slow, not fast, the way a person walks when every step is a choice. They spoke quietly about homework, about the tidy list they would tackle after dinner, about the small reward of hot tea with honey. Even small talk can be a safety tool. It keeps the mind steady. It keeps the rhythm. The twins knew this. They had learned at the dojo that calm moves through the body when the mind speaks simple truths. The field to their left, now dim again, hummed faintly with the echo of a day full of whistles and running feet. The bleachers were a pale shape against the darker line of trees. Beyond the fence, a few cars idled. A parent waved at someone they knew. Laughter drifted and then faded. At the bend in the path, Maya noticed motion in the corner of her eye. It was not close. It was not fast. It was just there, the outline of 2 or 3 figures near the far end of the bleachers. She did not turn her head toward them. She only told her own mind, I see that. We are still in the light. Malik noticed too. He kept his eyes on the next pool of brightness ahead. The twins did not share a look. They did not need to. Their steps stayed even. Their hands rested by their sides, open and free. Their phones buzzed again. It was the same number, now with a short message that read, only a talk. Come on. The words were casual. The location was not. They did not reply. They passed the safety box and touched the blue call button lightly with their eyes, as if to remind themselves it existed. The call box was like an anchor in a calm bay. It did not feel like fear to notice it. It felt like wisdom. As they neared the bus stop, a voice rose behind them, not shouting, just clear. Hey! Slow down a second. The voice was familiar. It was Trent's. The twins kept walking at the same pace. They were not running away. They were simply going home. Another voice, softer, said something like, they heard you. A third voice chuckled like someone trying to shake off a long day. The sound of shoes on pavement followed, a tap-tap in steady rhythm, closing the distance. Maya thought of a line their mother said when she taught them to cross busy streets, don't bargain with moving cars. Make them stop by your choice, not your fear. The path ahead grew brighter as they reached a patch where 2 lights overlapped. In that glow stood Jada, holding a sketchbook under her arm. She had stayed late to finish a drawing in the art room and was now on her way to the bus. When she saw the twins, her face softened with relief. She lifted her free hand in a small wave. Hi, Maya said with real warmth, and the word felt like a bridge. Jada joined them, adjusting her backpack strap, and fell into step. 3 is a different shape than 2. It takes more space. It changes the air. Jada glanced back once and then forward, reading the moment like she reads the mood of a scene she wants to draw. Everything okay? She asked quietly. Yes, Malik said, his voice steady. We are heading home. They reached the bus shelter. It had a clear roof and open sides. A posted schedule showed the next bus arriving in 6 minutes. The shelter sat under a bright lamp, and a campus security sign hung nearby. Still, the path behind them carried the sound of approaching shoes. Jada shifted her sketchbook so her phone sat easy in her hand. Maya did the same. Malik stood slightly angled so he could see both the schedule and the path. Trent stepped into the light with 2 teammates behind him. Up close, he looked like he always did, tall, strong, and carrying himself like the field was still beneath his feet. His jacket collar was up against the night air. His face wore a smile that was not unkind, just sure of itself. He stopped at a polite distance, palms open, like a person about to ask for directions. "Hey," he said, nodding at each of them. "No big deal. Just wanted to talk." Maya used the first tool she trusted most, clear words. "We're not meeting behind the bleachers," she said. "That is not a safe place. We're going home. If you need to talk, school hours are best." Malik added, "Also, your message is saved. We showed it to Coach." The smile flickered and then returned, as if Trent had put it back on. "Coach knows everything," he said lightly. "I was only going to say, people should show respect. It's how teams work. It's how schools work." "Respect is a good word," Maya answered. "It has rules. It happens in the open. It doesn't happen in dark corners." Her tone was gentle, like the tone she used when a younger student at the dojo rushed through a form and forgot to breathe. A bus pulled in across the street for a different route. Its brakes sighed. The sound filled the space and then faded. In the quiet that followed, the second player shifted his weight and looked away for a moment, as if unsure what his part was. The third player checked his phone and slipped it back into his pocket. Jada's camera was open, not high in the air, but ready. The lens gathered light and clarity. Trent glanced at Jada and seemed to measure the light, the camera, the posted schedule, and the twins' calm faces. For a second, the whole scene held still, like the pause before a door swings in or out. "Okay," he said in a voice that tried to be casual. "Then at least say sorry for bumping into me today." His sentence was a test and also a rope. If they grabbed it, he could say they had been wrong. If they refused, he could say they were proud. Malik took a breath and let it out. "We did say excuse us," he replied. "We always do. And we will keep doing that. We want everyone to be safe here." His words were simple and filled with air, like a clean sail that catches a steady wind. The second player tilted his head, almost a nod. The third scratched his cheek and looked at the ground. The bus schedule showed 4 minutes now. A group of students turned the corner, talking about a group project and laughing. They saw the small circle at the shelter and slowed. They did not know all the details, but they knew how to read the shapes of a school night, and this shape said, "Please wait here a second." Trent's jaw worked as if he were chewing a choice. The smile grew thin at the edges. He took a single step closer, still at a normal distance, and said, "You're not special because you know some moves." He did not raise his voice. He did not say anything cruel. It was just a line meant to push. Maya answered with her calm, steady presence, the kind that fills space without forcing anyone out. "We don't think we're special," she said. "We're just responsible. That is what school rules are for." She kept her hands visible, open, not clenched. Her shoulders were relaxed. Anyone watching would see a student standing in a normal way, in normal light, speaking in a normal voice. Yet the moment held a quiet power because she would not step into the dark shape that had been offered. A breeze moved through the shelter. It lifted a corner of the posted schedule. It carried the scent of damp earth from the field and the clean smell that comes when the day cools. Somewhere, a whistle blew again and a door closed with a soft click. A car door opened and a parent called to a child. Small sounds of ordinary life gathered around the bright pool where the students stood. Jada shifted a small step so that the camera had a clear view of everyone's faces. She did not announce it. She just did it. Her hand was steady. She was thinking, later, if anyone asks what happened, let there be light and a record. One of the students who had slowed near the corner took out his phone too. Not to post. Just to have the truth. "Let's go," the second player murmured to Trent, not unkindly. "It's late." It was the kind of suggestion that offers a person a graceful exit. Trent heard it. He also heard the echo of a different moment, the earlier benching, the weight of a lost game, the way stories grow wings in hallways. He looked at the twins and then past them, toward the field where ideas like strength and belonging live in big letters. The bus app on Malik's phone buzzed an alert, 2 minutes. He glanced at the road, then back at the small circle of faces. He kept his voice steady and said the sentence his training had taught him to use when lines needed to be clear. We don't consent to this. Please give us space. The words were polite. They were also firm, like a fence that is not tall but is very real. Trent's smile folded down. It was not anger so much as a decision to test the fence and see if it was real. He reached out, not to hurt anyone, but to claim a kind of control. His hand caught the strap of Malik's backpack and gave it a quick, surprising tug, as if to make him step closer and listen. Malik's foot slid half a step. The strap tightened across his shoulder. The moment became a single bright point, like a flashbulb in a quiet room, and for that heartbeat everything else, the coach's advice, the camera, the rules on the board, crowded into one choice. Malik felt the sudden pull on his backpack strap like a door being tugged the wrong way. For half a heartbeat, his body swayed toward Trent. The shelter light made everything sharp: the metal bench, the posted schedule, the careful faces of the students standing nearby. Training rose in Malik like a quiet voice that he had practiced listening to: make your base, breathe, turn, and free yourself without harm. He planted his feet as if they had roots, shoulder width, knees soft. He did not yank back. He did not shove. He simply turned his torso the way he had learned 100 times at the dojo, letting the strap loosen for a fraction of a second as his shoulder rolled. His hand slid under the strap, and he stepped back so the weight of his bag followed his own movement instead of Trent's pull. The strap slipped free of Trent's hand. Malik ended one step away, balanced, with open palms and calm eyes. He had not struck anyone. He had not even touched Trent. He had only taken his space back. Maya moved at the same time, smooth and steady, stepping into a spot where her body could be seen by everyone: by Jada, by the other students, by the campus camera on the pole above the shelter. Her hands were open and visible near her ribs, the language of calm that says, I am here, I am not a threat, and I am not easy to push. We don't consent to this, she said, voice clear, not loud. Please give us space. The sentence felt like a bright line drawn on the ground. She did not glare. She did not challenge. She simply named the boundary. Jada lifted her phone a bit higher, angle careful, elbows tucked so the video would be steady. She had the campus security number open on another screen, ready to tap. Her heartbeat was thumping, but her fingers were sure. She took a small sideways step so that the cameras saw the twins, Trent, his two teammates, the shelter, and the glowing blue safety box across the path. The picture told a story of light and public space, not shadows. From the call box came a chime, the kind that sounds like a drop of water in a glass. A recorded voice followed, campus security. What is your emergency? The student who had pressed the blue button didn't speak into it yet. He looked to Maya. She gave a tiny nod. He leaned toward the speaker and said, students feel unsafe at the bus shelter by the main field. Please send someone. The voice replied, on the way. Trent's hand hung in the air for a moment, empty now, fingers curling and uncurling like he wasn't sure what to do with them. His jaw flexed, but his eyes were not wild. They were tired eyes, carrying a season of pressure. He looked from Malik's steady stance to Maya's open hands, to Jada's phone, to the small group of students who had paused a few steps away. He had expected many possible things: fear, anger, shouting. He had not expected this simple, practiced calm that refused to move into darkness. We're talking, he said, like a person trying to keep a grip on a plan that was slipping. No one is hurting anyone. Then please keep your distance, Maya said, same even tone. We can talk tomorrow with adults present. School has rules for that. Malik kept his breathing even. He could feel his own pulse slowing, like a drum that had been hit once and then allowed to fade. He angled his body so his shoulder was not square to Trent, a small safety detail that looked natural, as if he were just turning to read the bus schedule again. Coach has our screenshots, he added. He knows. One of Trent's teammates shifted his weight from one foot to the other. His eyes flicked toward the path, toward the building, toward the call box, as if he were checking exits on a plane. Maybe we should go, he murmured, voice low, not meant to challenge anyone, almost a suggestion to the night itself. Trent gave a half laugh that sounded like he was trying to make the moment lighter and not quite making it. Everyone's so formal now, he said. We can't even have a little conversation. The last word felt like a test laid gently on the table. Conversations are welcome, Maya replied. Surprises in dark places are not. She didn't blink too fast. She didn't look away. She let the words rest in the air like a bridge someone could choose to walk across. A parent's car rolled past the curb behind them. Headlights washed the scene in white and kept going. The bus app buzzed on Malik's phone again, 1 minute. He glanced at the road and then back at Trent. We are leaving on the next bus, he said, simple truth, no itch. Trent stepped forward one small step, not into their space, more as if he were trying to make the space smaller with his presence. You think you're safe because you know some moves. It wasn't a threat. It was a tired line, the kind people say when they want the world to go back to the way it felt before there were cameras and policies and choices. We feel safe because we follow rules, Malik said. The same rules for everyone. Trent's jaw worked again. His fingers tapped once against his thigh. He glanced at his teammate on the right, who was staring at the ground, hands in his pockets. He glanced at the other one, who was watching the call box as if it might speak again. He looked back at Malik and made a small quick motion, a tiny reach like the one a person makes to straighten someone's collar. His hand brushed Malik's wrist as if to pull him just a little, maybe to make him step forward, to show the group who could move whom. Maya's body answered before the thought finished forming. She slid one foot back, smooth as water, and turned her shoulders so that she was not blocking Malik but was next to him, sharing the line. Her forearm lifted to a midpoint that could be seen by everyone, palm open. When Trent's fingers touched Malik's wrist, she did not grab or hit. She placed her own hand lightly on Trent's hand, not to squeeze, but to guide it away, using the direction it was already going. At the same time, she stepped back and to the side, giving space rather than taking it. The motion was like opening a curtain, not slamming a door. Trent's fingers slipped off Malik's wrist as if they had lost the thing they were trying to hold because the thing had moved with kindness, not force. Please don't touch, she said. The sentence was not sharp. It was as level as a perfectly balanced tray. Jada's camera caught the whole motion. Anyone watching later would see the choice clearly, no strike, no shove, no harm, only distance created and a boundary spoken aloud. The students near the corner exhaled in a soft wave. Even the night air seemed to loosen a notch. From the call box, the security voice spoke again. An officer is 2 minutes out, it said. Please remain where you are. Is anyone injured? No, the student who had called answered. No one is injured. The shelter lights hummed softly. A moth drifted in a slow circle like a tiny satellite, then settled against the clear roof. The bus turned the corner into view, its inside lights bright, its route number glowing. Its brakes gave that long, tired sigh as it neared the stop across the street, then signaled the U-turn to swing into the lane by the shelter. Trent looked at the bus, then at the twins, then over his shoulder. He was still standing in the light. He was still being filmed. His teammates were not supporting a story of excitement or humor now. They were giving him small exit doors looks that said, "We can walk away and nothing bad has to happen." "You're making this bigger than it is," he said, but the sentence didn't have much air in it. It sounded like a line that had been repeated too many times and had nowhere new to go. "It got big when the first message was sent," Malik answered. "We're choosing the safe way to make it small again." Maya added, "We'll be at school tomorrow. If you want to talk with Coach and Principal Green, we will be there." The bus pulled up with a deep, gentle rumble. The doors folded open. The driver looked out at the cluster of students with a practiced glance that could read a scene fast. She saw open hands, phones, steady faces. She said, "Boarding," into the air with a professional calm that offered everyone a dignified next step. Jada took a small, brave breath and spoke in a voice that was friendly on purpose. "We're getting on," she said. "You coming?" It was the kind of invitation that wasn't really for Trent but for the moment itself to move along, to choose ordinary life over a story that would take a wrong turn. Trent didn't answer. He looked at the camera again. His shoulders shifted as if they were heavier now, as if the season sat on them. The teammate on his right touched his own chest, a small gesture that said, "Let's end this." The other one took half a step back so his heels met the edge of the light pool. Malik turned slightly toward the bus, keeping Trent in his side view. He lifted one foot to the first step and then paused, waiting for Maya. They moved as they always did together. Maya kept her eyes on Trent as she stepped backward toward the bus, not to challenge him, only to keep the line of sight clear and calm. "Thank you for giving us space," she said, polite, final. Something like choice flickered across Trent's face. He could pull again. He could speak louder. He could do many things. Instead, he held still for 2 breaths. His fingers uncurled and curled again, but they did not reach. The bus driver waited, patient but not forever. The group of students near the corner began to board. Jada took one last steady frame of the scene and then climbed onto the bus after Maya and Malik, still recording as she turned to find a seat. And then a sound cut through the night, clean and sharp, like a line drawn with a silver pen. A whistle blast. Another. The kind that belongs to a coach who knows how to be heard across a field. It came from the direction of the main building. Heads turned in unison. The whistle sounded again, closer now, paired with the quick, decisive rhythm of footsteps that knew exactly where they were going. A familiar voice called out, carrying over the bus engine and the low murmur of students, "Enough. Step back. Phones stay up." The twins felt the air in their chests lighten by an inch. Cameras were still recording. The bus doors were still open. And Coach Daniels was arriving at the edge of the light. Coach Daniels reached the bus shelter with the whistle still in his hand and a calm that felt bigger than the night. He did not shout. He did not point. He stood in the pool of light where everyone could see him, lifted one palm, and said, "Step back. Give them space." The words landed with quiet authority. The 2 teammates took a clean step away at once. Trent breathed out through his nose and eased back half a step, then another, as if remembering the same rule everyone else knew: when an adult arrives and speaks clearly, you listen. The campus security cart rolled up a moment later with a soft electric hum. The officer greeted everyone by name where he could, checked faces, asked the simple first question anyone heard. And then the second who pressed the call box. The student raised his hand. The officer nodded and said, "Good choice." The bus doors stayed open. The driver waited with patient eyes. Coach looked at Maya and Malik and said, "Get on the bus. Text your mother that you're on your way. I'll handle things here." His voice left no space for argument, only relief. Maya and Malik thanked the driver as they climbed aboard. Jada followed and found a seat across the aisle so she could still see the shelter through the window if needed. As the bus merged into the lane, the world outside became frames, the officer speaking to Trent, Coach gesturing toward the lit path and the camera on the pole, the teammates with hands in pockets, eyes on the ground. Inside the bus, life felt ordinary again. Students in headphones, someone yawning after a long day, a backpack slipping off a shoulder and being caught. Ordinary felt like a warm blanket. Malik texted their mother that they were on the way home and safe. Maya added one more line to Coach, "Thank you." He replied with a single check mark emoji and the words, "Proud of your choices." At home, the kitchen lights glowed soft. Their mother listened to the story without interrupting, her hands around a mug of tea that sent up calm steam. When they finished, she set the mug down and looked at them the way she did when they were small and had taken a brave step into deep water. "You followed the promise," she said. "You chose the light and the rules. I am proud of you." She asked to see the screenshots and the short clip Jada had recorded. She did not say rude things about anyone. She did not fanfare. She said, "We will let the adults do their job. Tonight you eat, you stretch, you rest." Later, Malik rolled out a mat in the living room and went through slow breathing and gentle stretches, the kind that tell the mind it can put heavy thoughts down for a while. Maya joined him. The house quieted. Sleep came like a careful friend. Morning brought bright sun and the soft thump of the newspaper on the front step. The twins rode the bus to school with their backpacks feeling lighter than the night before and heavier at the same time. On the front lawn, banners flapped in the breeze, and the big game poster looked just as bold as yesterday, but the air carried a different tone: curious, whispering, alert. News moves fast in schools. Some students nodded at the twins with small, respectful smiles. A few looked away and then back, unsure how to hold two ideas at once, a team they love and rules they know are right. In homeroom, Miss Ortega took attendance and then said a sentence that drew the class into a shared calm: "A safe school is built, every day, by choices you make in the light." She didn't tell details. She didn't have to. People sat straighter. After second period, a note came from the office. Principal Green wanted to meet. The twins walked the main hallway together, steps matching as always. The office smelled like paper, hand sanitizer, and coffee. On the wall, a framed copy of the Student Code of Conduct hung beside photos from last year's science fair. Coach Daniel sat in a chair by the door, arms resting on his knees, posture open. The campus security officer stood near the cabinet, writing notes. Principal Green looked up from a folder. He had a calm face that could read as stern, but the twins had learned that calm and stern are cousins who both love order. He invited everyone to sit around the table. Jada arrived with the counselor, Miss Patel, and took a seat with her sketchbook closed and her phone face down. Green began the meeting with ground rules: speak one at a time, be factual, be respectful, use the language of the policy. He read the relevant section aloud, the one about harassment, intimidation, hazing, and physical contact. The words were dry on the page: definitions, steps, consequences, but they mattered. Then the principal asked for the timeline. Malik described the first text, the second, the decision to go to the coach, the walk along the lit path, the approach at the bus shelter, the grab at his backpack strap, and the release technique he used to move away without harm. He used clear, simple words. Maya added how she placed herself in view of the cameras, used open hands, gave verbal boundaries, and guided a hand away without gripping. Jada explained when she started recording and how she placed herself so the camera could see everyone in the light. The officer confirmed the call box recording and the time stamp, and Coach described his arrival and instructions. Green listened without showing his thoughts on his face, which is a skill some people practice for years. He asked for the evidence. Jada's video played on a larger screen. The room watched the motion, the grab, the release, the step back, the open hands, the clear words, the distance made without strikes. It was not dramatic. It was careful. The security officer also pulled up a still frame from the lamp camera outside the shelter. It was a wide angle, a little grainy, but the shapes told the same story: bright space, steady stances, no chasing, no shoving. Green nodded, made notes, and then asked for the other side. Trent came in with his two teammates, and they sat across the table, eyes a little dull from not sleeping well. Trent said he had only wanted to talk, that things had gotten too formal, that he felt disrespected earlier in the hallway and had wanted acknowledgement. He said the backpack tug was a mistake, a small thing, not a threat. Green asked why the texts had named a dark location. Trent hesitated. He said it was tradition, not serious, just a way to clear the air. The word tradition sat in the room like a heavy brick. Coach's eyebrows moved half a millimeter. The officer wrote something more. Miss Patel asked a gentle question: would a conversation in the main office, during school hours, have worked? Trent stared at the table and said, after a pause, yes. The principal read the hazing rule again. He asked the officer to step out for a minute. When the door closed, Green folded his hands. His next words were careful, as if he was placing them one by one where they would not cause harm. This school has a zero-tolerance policy for harassment and hazing, he said. It also has a zero-tolerance policy for fighting. Sometimes, in real life, events include both claims. When that happens, we must be exact. He looked at the twins. You used trained movements. That is not wrong by itself. But the policy says any physical contact can fall under discipline. The room seemed to grow smaller for a few seconds. Malik sat very still. Maya felt a spot under her collarbone get warm. Miss Patel spoke softly. The video shows de-escalation, she said. It shows release, not force. Coach added, they came to me first. They followed directions. They kept everything in the light. They protected themselves and others without harm. Green tapped the policy with his pen. I see that, he said. I do. He looked at Trent and the teammates. I also see repeated messages to meet in a dark location, and a hand on another student's property and wrist. That is harassment. He paused and, for a moment, his eyes looked tired, not with anger but with the weight of getting it right. Here is the tension, he said. Zero-tolerance policies remove discretion to keep people safe. But they can also sweep in people who acted responsibly if we read them without context. We must be careful. The officer returned with a short report, the call box log, the time stamps, and two statements from students who had seen earlier hallway bumps and heard talk of initiations. He mentioned that two more students had come forward that morning to report similar texts in past weeks. Their reports were written, with screenshots attached. The word pattern found a seat in the room. Green read quietly, then closed the folder and looked at Coach. Until this is fully reviewed, he said, the 3 football players involved are suspended from team activities. This is not guilt or innocence, this is risk management and accountability. There will be conduct training for the team this week. The game is on Friday. That is secondary to safety. The room shifted, relief for some, worry for others. Trent stared at a spot on the table as if the wood could give him a different answer. One teammate swallowed hard. The other wiped his palm on his jeans and nodded once, tiny, like a person just beginning to understand that a line has been reached. For the twins, the word suspended did not feel like a victory. It felt like a cloud with sun behind it. They knew what would come next: whispers about the playoffs, comments in the halls, notes online. They thanked the principal for listening. They thanked the officer. They thanked Coach for arriving last night when it mattered most. As they stepped into the hallway, the school's regular sounds met them again: locker doors closing, a laugh that bounced too loud, the squeak of sneakers on the polished floor. It should have felt normal. Instead it felt like walking across a stage where someone else was choosing the lights. By lunchtime, the rumors had found every corner. Some students said the twins were brave. Some said they were dramatic. A few said they had cost the school its best chance at a win. A message board had a thread titled "Too Many Rules," with a photo of the bleachers at sunset. Jada ate with them by the window and showed them a private message from a freshman who wrote, "Thank you for making school feel safer." It helped. So did the quick nods from two teachers and the quiet "well done" from the librarian as she restocked the cart. But the talk about zero tolerance kept cycling, and each time someone said the phrase, Maya felt that warm spot under her collarbone again. After school, Coach called them back to the office for one more conversation with Principal Green. Miss Patel was there too. Green had the policy binder open to a tab marked Self-Defense and Intervention. He explained that some districts include guidance that when a student uses the minimum necessary action to leave a harmful situation, discipline may not apply. He also explained that their district's language was stricter and less detailed. "We are not going to guess," he said. "We are going to be precise. I need to consult with the district office and review all the footage and statements. Until then, you are not suspended. You are to carry on with your week as usual. And you are not to engage in any further discussion with the involved students except in a supervised setting." The words should have felt like a clear path, but uncertainty has a way of laying a thin film over even good news. The twins thanked him. In the hallway, Miss Patel walked with them a few steps and said, "Stereotypes are loud. Facts are patient. Keep choosing patience." They went to the dojo that evening for the younger kids' class. The room smelled faintly of clean mats and eucalyptus. Little feet tapped in lines like soft drums. The twins tied belts, checked stances, and taught a simple exercise about breathing and stepping away from pressure. They did not share their day with the kids. They shared the habit of calm. On the way out, their instructor stopped them at the door. "Self-control is not the absence of strength," she said with a small smile. "It is the direction of it." The words landed like a hand on the shoulder, steadying. Night came again. Homework got done. Dishes were washed. The house settled. A notification buzzed on Maya's phone, a class group chat where someone had posted, "Zero tolerance means zero." The words sat on the screen, hard and flat. For the first time since the shelter, doubt pushed against Maya's ribs. What if a strict reading pulled them into punishment for being careful? What if doing the right thing still carried a cost? She looked at Malik, and he knew without asking. "We did the right things in the right order," he said. "Adults saw it. We can't control every thought, only our choices." She nodded, but sleep came slower. The next morning, the intercom crackled in homeroom with a brief announcement, "Certain student conduct matters are under review. All students are reminded to follow staff directions, avoid off-limits areas, and report concerns to an adult. Our focus is safety and learning." It was neutral. It was also a drumbeat that made the day feel long. After third period, another note came from the office. Green wanted a final statement from the twins, in writing, with times and exact words used. He also wanted a reflection, what they did to de-escalate and what they would advise a younger student. They sat at a side table and wrote slowly, carefully, using plain language and full sentences, like building small bridges over a stream so anyone could follow. When they handed the pages in, the principal read the first lines at once, then set them on top of the stack. He looked up and said, "Thank you. I will review everything and make a decision by tomorrow morning." The door clicked behind them as they left. The hallway felt longer than usual. The day stretched out like a tightrope. The game was 2 days away. The twins carried their books toward the library, calm on the outside, questions inside. Somewhere in the building, the policy binder waited open on a desk. Somewhere else, a decision was forming, and for a moment the future balanced on the thin edge of how a single phrase "zero tolerance" would be read. Morning came with soft light on the kitchen wall and the quiet sound of a kettle. Maya and Malik ate toast and honey and checked their bags twice, not because they had forgotten anything but because checking helped their minds feel steady. Their mother set 2 apples on the table as if placing small sons there. "You did the right things," she said again, and the words felt like warm coats. On the bus, the twins sat by the window. The city moved past as usual, shops opening, a cat on a wall, a child waving at a driver, but the world also felt as if it was waiting to hear a sentence that had not been spoken yet. At school, they went to homeroom. The clock seemed to move with careful steps. A short note arrived from the office just after first period: "Please come at 9:30. Time shrank and stretched at the same time. In the hallway, a few students gave them small nods that said, "We saw, we heard." One teacher placed a hand over her heart for a second as they passed. Jada met them near the main office with her sketchbook under her arm. She gave them a look that had more in it than words could hold: care, respect, a little worry, and a steady thread of faith. Inside the office, Principal Green sat with a folder open and a calm that looked chosen. Miss Patel sat near the end of the table with a notepad. Coach Daniels stood by the window with his whistle on a lanyard, but his hands were still. The campus security officer waited by the door, hat tucked under his arm. Green asked everyone to sit. He did not rush. He took one breath the way a conductor does before music starts, and then he spoke. "I've reviewed all statements," he said. "I've watched the videos several times. I've consulted with the district office. Here is my decision." He looked first at the twins. Maya and Malik acted within school rules and basic safety. They informed an adult. They stayed in well-lit areas. They used clear words. They used the least action needed to create space and leave. "They will not be disciplined." The words did not jump. They landed with a deep, even sound that filled the room. The tight line under Maya's collarbone loosened. Malik felt his shoulders drop a little, like a backpack being set on a chair. Green continued, turning a page. "There will be consequences for the texts, the location chosen, and the physical contact that occurred. The 3 players involved are suspended from team activities for the next 2 games and will complete conduct training with reflections and service on campus. The team as a whole will attend a safety and respect workshop. Hazing by any name ends here." He did not raise his voice on the last sentence. He didn't need to. It sat in the air like a clear sign posted where everyone could see it. Coach nodded once, firm and sure. "I support this," he said. "We win by our choices first, then by our scores." Miss Patel added that the workshop would include bystander tools, ways to find help, and ways to use calm words when pressure builds. She turned to the twins. "I would like you 2 to help design one station," she said. "Only if you want to. You'll set limits. You'll choose what to share. It can be about breathing, or about speaking clearly, or about moving to light. You will not have to show any advanced skills." The idea surprised them, but in a good way. It felt like turning a hard night into a useful lamp. Maya said yes, with one condition: everything had to be in plain steps that any 7th grader could use. Malik said yes too, and suggested the station be called "Find the Light." Green smiled with his eyes, not his mouth. "That sounds right," he said. "We'll print a simple guide. We'll also set up an online form so students can report concerns without fear." There was one more part to the morning. Trent and his teammates entered the room with the counselor from athletics. They looked different than they had at the shelter, quieter, as if they were carrying full buckets and wanted to set them down without spilling. Trent kept his eyes level and spoke before anyone asked him to. "I'm sorry," he said, not fast, not loud, just steady. "I made a plan I should not have made. I sent messages I should not have sent. I pulled a strap I had no right to touch. I told myself it was normal. It was not. I am sorry. The words were simple and exact. They did not try to hide behind other words like tradition or just talking. Maya listened with her full attention, which is a kind of respect too. Malik nodded once. He did not rush to fill the space. After a beat, he said, "Thank you for saying it clear." Maya added, "We accept your apology. Our boundary stays." Trent nodded. He did not ask to rewrite the past. He did not ask for instant friendship. He just nodded and looked relieved to have put the heavy bucket down. Coach told the boys to see him after school for their first training session and to bring notebooks. The meeting ended with practical next steps, a schedule, a room, a list of adults, a plan for posters. The rest of the day felt lighter. In English, Miss Ortega asked the class to write about the difference between power and control. Students wrote about bridges and brakes and the steady hands of people who guide planes to the gate. At lunch, Jada sketched a simple poster idea, a bright triangle of light over a map of the campus, with 3 words inside: breathe, speak, move. The twins loved it. She offered to finish it after school. A science teacher overheard and said the art room could use the big printer for free. Small kindnesses gathered like chairs being set out for a community event. After classes, the gym smelled like clean floor and new air. The team sat on the bleachers in practice clothes, not in full gear. Coach stood in front with a flip chart. He did not give a long speech. He drew a quick shape, a circle with a smaller circle inside, and said, "This is our new center. Safety in the middle. Everything else around it." He named simple rules: no secret meetings, no tests of respect, no games in dark places, no messages that make people uneasy. He listed ways to fix mistakes: say sorry, make a plan in daylight, tell an adult, write it down. He said, "If you care about this team, you build it. You do not scare it into shape." Then it was time for the workshop. Tables were set up around the gym with different stations: call for help, run by the security officer, with a real call box and a demo of what to say, use clear words, led by Miss Patel, with short lines to practice like "I don't consent to this," and "please give me space," walk in light, a map activity with highlighters and sticker stars, and the twin station, find the light. They kept it simple on purpose. First, they taught a breathing box: inhale 4 counts, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4, drawn on a card that fit in a pocket. Second, they practiced a step-back movement that made space without touching anyone, paired with a sentence, "I'm leaving now." Third, they showed how to position your body so a camera could see your hands and face if you felt uneasy. They ended with a checklist that had 5 boxes you could tick with a pen: light, people, adult, words, exit. Students rotated in small groups. Some were shy at first, then relaxed when they saw there were no tricks, no secrets, just clear steps. The twins' voices were calm and kind. They used examples from normal life: leaving a crowded study hall, asking a friend for space at a locker, telling someone "not now" when a plan felt wrong. Jada stood nearby with her poster, now printed big and glossy, and guided people to tape small stars on the map where lights needed fixing. A custodian came by and made notes on a clipboard. "We can add one here," he said, pointing to a dim corner near the music room. Near the end of the session, Trent walked to the twins' table. He did not cut in line. He waited like everyone else. When it was his turn, he looked down at the breathing card and traced the square with a finger. "I will use this," he said. It was a simple sentence, but it meant more. He practiced the step back once with Malik. The motion felt different from sports drills, gentler, more aware. "Thanks," he said, and moved on. The teammate who had wanted to leave the night before came up too. He placed a star on the map next to the bleachers. "This light flickers," he said. The custodian nodded. I know the one. We'll fix it before Friday. That evening, the school sent an email to families, a summary of the new steps, the workshop, and the affirmation of the conduct policy. It had links to a printable Find the Light card and the anonymous report form. The message used plain language and did not name students. It spoke about respect as something you can practice, like math or music, until it becomes your habit. Replies began to arrive with thanks, with ideas, with offers to help. A parent who worked at a community center offered to donate a portable light for the far path. Another said she would volunteer at the bus stop after games. Friday came with Big Sky and the buzz of game day. The suspended players wore school colors in the stands, not on the field. They clapped for their teammates and did not draw attention to themselves. The announcer began with a new line that made the crowd quiet for a second and then clap. Here at Riverside, we lead with respect, on and off the field. The game itself was close. The team played with heart and clean hands. They tried new plays. They supported the substitute linebacker like he had been there all season. The score went back and forth. In the final minute, Riverside was behind by a little. The crowd yelled encouragement, not anger. When the clock ran out, they had not won. But something had shifted under the lights. The students walked out of the stadium in calm groups, laughing and talking about snacks and homework and weekend plans. The bus driver waved at familiar faces. The new light near the music room shone steady. After the field cleared, Coach asked the twins to help stack a few pads in the gym. Jada brought the poster and taped it to a portable board by the door. The words looked simple and proud in the glow: breathe, speak, move. Underneath, in a small line, it said, power equals control, not harm. The twins stepped back to look at it. They felt tired in a good way, like after a long swim. They remembered the kitchen table and the morning promise. They remembered the bus shelter and the whistle and the careful steps that turned a hard moment into a lesson for many. They walked out together into the cool night. The campus looked like a map of safe stars. They paused at the new light by the music room, and Maya reached up and tapped the pole with two knuckles, the way they tapped the door frame at home. Malik smiled. It was not a magic trick. It was a small thank you to the choices that had guided them here. They crossed the lawn with steady steps, not because nothing hard would ever happen again, but because they knew how to meet hard things in the open. On the way to the bus stop, a younger student waved and held up the Find the Light card from his pocket. He pointed to the breathing square. 4x4, he said with a grin. I showed my little brother. The twins waved back and felt the best kind of pride, the kind that doesn't need to stand on a stage. Under the steady lamp, they waited for the bus, side by side, their calm the same shape it had always been, now shared with many more people than before.